When I left bone marrow transplant unit last year, I didn't really feel right me walking away and just saying thanks to the staff, and that was the end of it. I felt like I had something to give back, so I was in a pretty good position to sort of get out there and do something, and I felt I needed to challenge myself as well. I wanted the money to go to a good cause. I'm not better cause than the Child Cancer Foundation. It's going to take me just over a month, so 30 k's a day for a month. So.
I'm Nathan Blackler, physical training instructor in the New Zealand Army. Basically, I wanted to become a physical training instructor. I actually wanted to be one from probably about when I was in cadets actually. Physical training's always been a part of my life ever since I've been a kid. There wasn't the Xboxes and PlayStations and all that sort of jazz that are around now. So I was always quite active and into a bit of sport, and martial arts was my main thing that I interest as a young fella until I went into the Army when I was 16. I've done 15 and a half years in the Army now. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, it began with a big lump under my arm, which was, it sort of looked like almost like the size of a half a tennis ball sort of sticking underneath my armpit. So I was carrying that around with me for a little while, and got to a size where when I was training, when I was taking classes or run classes, anything, running, especially weight training, when you do any sort of resistance training, that was blocking off the main artery to my arm. That, as a trainer, you'd know when your body's not right, and that was a real big first indicator to me that things aren't right. They originally said, they stuck a couple of needles in my arm to do a biopsy, and they originally said that the test results come back and said it was all sweet as. And then they wanted to remove it anyway because it was too big, so they removed it, and then the test came back from that and they actually said it was cancerous.
Ever since then I've been run through the mill with all the treatment that you could possibly go through pretty much. But for me it was just like, well, what's next?
It rapidly accelerated pretty much through my body, and I went from chemotherapy to radiation, then a remission for a little bit, and then I had a relapse, and then I had to go back into more chemo, and then a bone marrow transplant in the Christchurch hospital. And that was, I suppose, pretty challenging for me because I hated being cooped up in isolation. I mean, obviously, as a physical training instructor in the Army, you're used to running outside and taking the classes and basically not being cooped up in isolation, which is exactly where I ended up, and it was like a cell pretty much. And on Parkside, you see people running every day in the sunshine. It's quite frustrating. And thinking about young children who go through the same thing, and there was a young boy who was in a room not far from mine in there, and he was in there for 7 months. And I was trying to comprehend what that would be like for the young child, but for a kid to go through there and still be smiling after that much time is just incredible. So that's where I came up with the idea to walk from Auckland to Christchurch. The aim of it's to obviously raise a bit of money for Child Cancer Foundation, and that was the charity that I chose because the money goes direct to the families and the children involved. So it was the perfect charity for me. So I'm walking 30 k's a day basically, all the way every day until I get down to Christchurch. And it's good to be just on the road, really. It's good to be on the road and just put one foot in front of the other, plenty of time to think. And obviously got the support of my mates, my wife behind me. Yeah, it's primo, and wouldn't have it any other way. So hopefully it's, well, I know it'll be successful at the end of the day.
So I felt like my body had let me down, really, because you're working so hard at getting yourself up to a certain level and training everybody else, and then your body sort of turns around and stabs you in the back almost.
As a trainer, and my mates who are physical trainers with me in the Army, we basically train all the soldiers to be fighting fit basically when they go over on operations. And this is one of the forms of fitness that we do is pack fitness, being able to walk for long periods with your full kit. Everything that you need to survive is basically in your pack. So without your pack, you're pretty lost when you're out there. When the young kids go into the hospital, they've got diagnosed with cancer. They get one of these little pink panther friends in my pack there. So that's the why all us guys here have got the pink panther, and that's why I've got one sticking out of my pouch as well.
So I started chemotherapy for about 6 months, I think it was. Having chemo was an experience. Being a physical trainer, you learn a lot about your body and how your body's supposed to work. And so for me, it was really, really interesting until the sickness kicks in, and that made it a bit of a rough ride.
But I suppose for my health right now, I am still in remission, and I'll obviously, as a lot of people know, I'll be in remission for quite a few years, I suppose, until I'm cleared fully. And my fitness still isn't what it was before I had the chemo and the transplant, etc. So basically, it's also a personal challenge for me. I want to be able to prove to myself that I can still push myself, because my fitness isn't what it was before I went in. So, like I say, if I can do this and get to the other end of the tunnel, I'll be happy.
I lost my hair, and I actually had a good time with my son with that. We had a race, a hair pulling out race. He sat on one side of my head and I was on the other, and we just pulled out huge clumps, and had a good little time there, throwing hair around. So I mean, if you're going to lose your hair, you might as well have a bit of fun with it. As soon as I got diagnosed with cancer, that's my deployability shut right off. And to me, that was a big kick in the teeth for me as a soldier. I mean, every soldier worth his bloody weight in gold wants to get overseas and, you know, get a medal on their chest and do some good work overseas. And that's all I ever wanted to do. And for me, you know, I almost feel quite embarrassed, you know, sort of stepping out with my SDs on and nothing on my chest. Now in hindsight, I think I wear my medals on the inside, really. You know, I've been through a lot more than what most people have, so I'm quite proud of what I've done.
Well, we're almost at 41 kilometres away from Rotorua. At the end of today, we would have pumped out 180 k's. The body's holding up well, better than expected for day 6, and we're actually cranking the k's out probably a little bit faster than we anticipated. So we'll try not to get too silly with it, but things are going pretty well so far. The weather's holding out. Days like today, it's probably one of the best places you can be, I suppose. One of the special moments I've had so far in the last 6 days would be we stopped off for a bit of lunch. An old gentleman, an old farmer with his dog, was a little bit curious about the army vehicles there. Saw what we were collecting for the Child Cancer Foundation, and walked back to his house and plodded back along again about 15 minutes later, and just came up and gave us $60. So I was like, you know, it looked like he didn't really have $60 to give. So that sort of generosity is just bloody awesome. It's outstanding. So we've had that sort of couple of instances like that all the way down, and it's been great to see.
I was in remission for maybe 9 months. That 9 months, I remembered what it was like to feel healthy. After that, I found that the tumour had spread again. It was very stubborn. It had spread through the body again, and they decided that the best course of action was a transplant, stem cell transplant. Everything that can go wrong with your body was basically going wrong, yeah. I wasn't really keen on a lot of visitors at that stage though. I didn't want a lot of my friends and stuff like that to see me like that, quite sick. The worst part of my day was the morning, because I knew I had the whole day to go. And my best part was at night, because I knew I could shut my eyes and that was, you know, 7 hours maybe where I could sleep, and that's cut out. I relate it to a prison cell with the door, you know, with a door that you can just walk out, but you can't, because if you walk out, you know, you could possibly die because you've got no immune system. I lost my marbles a little bit there. I suppose that was the way I was dealing with it. If I wasn't talking, I was just bottling it in and trying to pretend there's nothing wrong. So I did push a lot of my loved ones away, I suppose, namely my wife, which in hindsight was a really, really stupid thing to do. I don't know how people can get through transplants and the treatment that you go through without your family, or even all your friends. It's not something you want to do by yourself. A lot of adults didn't handle the cancer treatment very well. I mean, everybody handles stress in different ways, but a lot of adults were getting quite rude or grumpy or whatever, and that's cool. That's each to their own. But when I saw the kids getting the same sort of treatment, and you know they were getting chemo or getting zapped with radiation, and their hairs all dropped out, and they're all pale and skinny, and they're still smiling and running around and having fun like kids do. You know, like nothing's changed, and I took inspiration from that. Going into Palmerston North was a day etched into my brain for the rest of my life. I got a police escort in, heaps of the boys were there collecting. I got into the square and there was I think it was about 200 guys, 200 of the boys from Linton put on a haka in the middle of the square and sent shivers up my spine. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Definitely stopped traffic that day. Things went back to normal. I was back to work again. I got offered a trip to the Sinai, which was great. I was amazed because I was like, cool, I finally get to get overseas. Operational deployment, you know, I'll get a medal shoved onto my chest. And one of the prerequisites was I had to get cleared, got a scan done, and lo and behold, I've got another set of tumours. From there, it was back into more treatment. They found that I'd had a bone tumour, a different type of tumour, so it was a secondary type of cancer. And they zapped me for that as well, for some high intensity radiation. All that treatment didn't work, and my last trump card was a transplant, a second transplant, a donor transplant, which luckily was from my brother.
Today's been outstanding. Frankie Stevens come along, some of the girls from the Shakers Wellington team. Police escort, heaps of the boys out there, some of the children from the with leukemia and the various cancers. I'm looking forward to a rest. It's rest tomorrow, and then back into it down to South Island. 395 k's to go. But one of the little girls fell over today. Fell over on the highway there, and she was tough as. She's looking at you like, oh yeah, if you can do that, then I can walk a little bit with a sore foot. Almost got to do another one to say thank you to my wife. yeah, I'll spend the rest of my life doing that one, I think.
Well, you can look back at later on in life and think, what an idiot, I walked the whole country.
It's been very humbling indeed. A lot of people go out there and talk the talk, and very few actually get out there and walk the walk, and for what Nathan is actually doing and achieving is awesome. Unfortunately, I can't say that we're all in the same shape as Nathan. Like, his medical kit seems to be used up by all his support crew instead of himself.
And repay the people that have helped him, like has been quoted before, the oncology staff down at the cleaning ladies. He's a cancer sufferer as well. He doesn't want pity on him, you know. He's always out there to raise awareness for other people, and that's just Nathan through and through, and that's what makes him such a good mate.
It's great to finally be in Wellington at the end of the North Island trip and the beginning of the South Island, which is pretty much a home straight for me. I'd like to see it go directly to keeping the families and the kids together, because I mean that's the most integral part of getting through your treatment, is keeping the families together. I mean, for a kid, it's so much harder if you haven't got your mum and dad around, or your brothers and sisters, or whatever close family you got, or your mates even.
Kia ora, Nathan.
Kia ora.
Welcome aboard our Blue Bridge ferry service. We're pleased that you can cross over with us.
Oh, thanks, mate.
For my second transplant, it hasn't worked at all. To me, it was a real big kick in the guts, actually. Getting pins and needles down both legs. So I asked the doc for a scan. Spread right through my body again, through my abdomen, my lower back, upper spine, in my right lung and in my chest wall. I'd never let cancer rule my life, and I'm not going to let it start now. So they don't try and resus me when I'm, when I'm knocking on heaven's door, I suppose. Well, hopefully it's heaven's door I'm knocking on. Oh God.
We're fundraising for child cancer, and would you like to donate anyone? Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good day.
And it's not just about walking from Auckland to Christchurch. It's a journey that's involved an illness, a diagnosis, a treatment, a rehabilitation, and then the walk. So it's been a long journey. Walking from Auckland to Christchurch is probably at the extreme. However, in many ways, there is probably no more appropriate way for a soldier and a PTI to say thank you. Sergeant Blackler, welcome to Burnham. We are very proud of everything you have achieved.
Tēnā koutou te whānau o tūma toinga o te ori. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I'd just like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I had this crazy idea to come up with some way to say thank you to my wife, my family, and everybody that's helped me out in my ordeal with cancer. The reason I really wanted to do it is, like I said, to say thank you, get the message out there too that there's a lot of people and a lot of children especially affected by this sort of thing. And the kids are the real heroes that struggle with this, and they still have a smile on their face at the end of the day. As adults, I think we tend to maybe get down on the little things in life a little bit too much, and these kids are the ones that are the real heroes. So this is my way, like I said, of saying thank you. To date, I think we've raised about $49,000 that'll go to the children for the Child Cancer Foundation, and that's going to make some really happy children out there. To me, this is the end of my journey. So thank you once again.
Nathan, on behalf of the children and all who are involved in the Child Cancer Foundation, I want to say thank you so much. The funding that Nathan has helped to raise is going to go to help the survivors of cancer. They've survived the cancer, but there are other things that they have to fight with. So it'll be a project that we didn't have the funding for, but over the next 3 years we'll be able to put it into that. In fact, what you're telling us today, we could probably go 4 years.
I got my moko done before I started the walk. It tells about my love for my family, my wife and kids, where I come from, my iwi Ngāti Porou, my fight with cancer. The chemo's going okay. The chemo's never ever nice, so it's going okay as far as chemo goes. It is working a little bit. The doctors had a scan and they said it decreased slightly in size, the mass in my chest. There's still more story to tell, I hope.